crazy. And this year, this is not the way the divisions look, right?
Correct. It's 5 in the North. Me too. Cool. Welcome to the Premier Ultimate League matchup in the South Division between DC Shadow and hometown Los Angeles Astra. I am Katie Killebrew, joined here by Chris Mazer, and we are in for a treat of a game. Chris, what are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Yes, we absolutely are. The runners-up from last year's championship, DC Shadow, are here for the first time in Los Angeles, and we got a chance to talk with some of the coaches before the game to hear about what's different with this team, and all they decided to talk about was the depth. We kept trying to poke and prod and say, which player, tell us about this person or that person, and they just kept saying depth. They care about the development of this team and everyone across the board. And on the other side, the Astra coaching staff were worried about that depth exactly, saying that they are the barometer of this league, a team to aspire to play like for how consistent they are, how few turnovers they throw, and how they value every single player on the roster.
Very much so, and DC Shadow is only here with 17 players, significantly fewer than they had at their home game when they beat Atlanta pretty handily. Astra lost their first home game here in a close one to Rally Radiance, but then they won on the road versus Nightshade. So this is the second game and the first road game for DC. So I'm looking to actually see some things flying in addition to the wind, because there is a little bit of wind here today. Is there anything else that sparks your attention as we think about this matchup?
Sure. Look, we can't go without saying that Ashley Gentlet is a stalwart of this roster, has played in every game in franchise history, one of the only players in the league to do that with a single team. And so we're definitely looking for Ashley to make a few plays today.
I don't know if there's an Iron Woman type award in the PUL yet, but if there was, and maybe there should be, Ashley Gentlet would definitely be a player to go. But on the Astra side, there's more of a emotional spirit, especially from the captains of this Astra team.
Yeah, for sure. We're looking at two of the cornerstones of LA Ultimate right now, Avalon Agawa and Chip Yen. These two were nominated as captains for this roster, and since the season has started, they're proving why on the field as well. They are making massive plays for the defensive side and the offensive side, and Chip Yen has already showed that she is going to probably be up for some awards at the end of the season if she keeps going at this rate. She's currently tied for third in the league in goals and tied for first in the league in blocks.
She is so exciting to watch on the field, really hunting in that deep space, and I think I'm looking to see them contribute on the opposite side of the disc. If there is a turnover, they are going to get blocks, as we are about to line up for these team announcements and coin flip. Honestly, the anticipation is rising in this game because Astra has not played. This is their first season in the Premier Ultimate League, so these teams have never met, and there's actually very little crossover in terms of players that have played together in college. They don't know each other very well, and I think that kind of matchup that we haven't seen before, it isn't expected and regular. is exciting in Ultimate. We don't get to see that very much. Is one of the things that I have been most excited about Astra joining the Premier Ultimate League and crossing over the West Coast with a lot of those East Coast teams in the PUL. Just players we haven't seen match up, and I think it's really exciting.
We are for sure going to see some amount of an adjustment period here at the start of the game. This first quarter, I mean, look, every first quarter is a tone-setting moment for a game. This one in particular, though, as these players feel out this wind, that's going to be pretty stiff. This stadium has a very similar feel as it did in the first home game, a very strong left to right wind from what you can see on screen, but also exactly what you're saying, Katie. These players are going to feel each other out, feel out what those matchups really are like now that they're on the field. Talking of both sides pregame, they are really, really ingesting as much film as possible pre-game to be prepared for what they could expect on the field. And so these are two very, very well-prepared teams. They did their homework to get ready for today's game.
It's one of the things I really enjoy about this league and where we are as a sport is that we are adjusting to this era of having film on teams. It's not about the hearsay or the reputation or knowing just a couple of people that you've seen at nationals. It is really these leagues, especially for the women's and non-binary players, is so exciting to get film and the breadth of the experience across the country and internationally. I would like to say that as we're doing this coin flip, I want to highlight our observing staff today. It is Brian Bradburn, Josie Ma, and Cynthia Love. They are going to be doing the coin flip as soon as the introductions are done. But the observing is really important here in the PUL because they don't want to necessarily get in the way of the players making the calls themselves. They're really there to move the pace of the game along.
Yeah, and they are looked to in a bunch of situations. They absolutely are, and their word that comes in can be taken, right? There's no absolute from them, except for a few key moments in and out, very important moments here, and they are just going to keep this game moving. So, we also have to make sure that we shout out to our broadcast sponsor. This is brought to you by TVX Sports Video. The high definition action wouldn't be possible without the support of TVX, and they're available for all your live broadcast needs at tvxvideo.com.
I love seeing all of the players there on the field lined up and ready to go. It is, I think, a moment where players get to actually be in front of their friends and family, not just here in the stadium, but on field. As you can see Maggie O'Connor doing a somersault there. There was a backflip on the other side that we didn't quite get on camera, which was really exciting. But I think it's one of those things, as of course the crowd trickles in very Los Angeles fashion. They are fashionably late, but I think that as people come in, this is going to be a really exciting crowd that grows in energy through this game.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fun challenge, as we say, trying to get anywhere when you're moving around Los Angeles. So excited to feel that energy from this crowd today, because this Los Angeles Astra team is really strong. They have younger players that are filling out the roster with just pure talent, throwing skills that, you wouldn't always expect from your 18-year-old that barely was old enough to even try out for the team. And then also there is a community that's being built. In talking with a lot of the players leading up in the season, they were talking mostly about this community, the way that they were coming together to support each other and just love each other and grow together. It's an incredible experience to see the energy that they have on the field, because what they want to do is they just want to walk away from the season feeling good about what they've done on the field. It's not about the wins and the losses for this team. There's no expectations. Year one in the PUL, fine. What's interesting, and maybe they didn't expect, is they are right in the middle of a playoff hunt.
As they should be. It's exciting to be in a league where you have a chance to win. But I must say that for Astra, this game is must win if they are going to have a shot at PUL championship weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really tight first game at home playing against Raleigh. They were right on the doorstep. A couple little moments here or there, a turn there, a tough little off cut there, and it would have gone the other direction, and they would have been coming into today's game 2-0. They have to win. It's that simple. I know we're early in the season. This is only the second game for DC, but if they have any chance, they must win today, and that puts themselves in a great position to then make championship weekend.
And as we come towards the end of the Astra introductions, along with their coaching staff, I'm just really grateful that we get to bring this game to you all at home. For those of you watching from afar, welcome to a rather gray, slightly windy Los Angeles day, but we wouldn't be here without our sponsors.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Discraft, the official disc of the PUL. Discraft provides PUL teams and events with customized discs that you can purchase at our merch table tonight. Discraft supports the PUL vision and mission to foster growth in Ultimate nationwide. Tonight's game is also brought to you by Breakmark, the official uniform and merchandising sponsor of the Premier Ultimate League and Los Angeles Astra. Shop the full PUL collection at teams.breakmark.com and rep your favorite team today.
And as these teams get ready, we're going to take a quick break before we bring you the first poll. Stay tuned. And welcome back. As that coin flips happen, that is observer Josie Moss signaling that DC Shadow has decided the side. The other observers, as we said before, are Brian Bradburn and Cynthia Love, the 3 observer team here in our game. The longer that this game takes to get started, the more I am getting nervous for the players. I think it's one of those things where the anticipation is building. If it's building, though, which team, Chris, do you think that this favors?
Oh, it's such a good question. I think it favors the team that's been here before, right? There is a different vibe from both sidelines right now. DC has clearly been in the league before. They've played on the road before. They've played in hostile environments before. They've played in hard weather before. They got absolutely stomped in the finals game last year. I mean, crushed by New York. Now, second half, they made a nice little comeback. They held it close enough to feel very respectable, but New York was always in control of that game. That is definitely lingering in the minds of the of the DC staff, because what they're doing to prepare all season long is to treat every single game like it matters, like that championship game, so that the nerves that you're talking about right now, Katie, are natural to them, so they can fight through them. Astra knows how big this game is for them. So this anticipation right now, I feel like, is harder on the Astra players. They're at home. They want to impress their friends, their family. They want to beat the reigning Southern champs today. So I think they just want to get those first 3 points under their feet and get going and get those jitters out of the way.
Alternatively, with this being their first year in the PUL and new team, new league, do you think that they really have anything to lose in this game?
Certainly not anything really to lose, but they have lots to prove. And, you know, one other player that we haven't talked about yet that is an important person who will get lots of touches today is Maggie O'Connor. Maggie O'Connor, in so many ways, is the engine that drives this team. The way that she is playing, Los Angeles follows. So let's make sure to keep an eye out on her. She'll be centered too on the offense line for probably most of the game. It sounds like Astra is going to try to balance out the first quarter here, run 3 separate lines, get everyone on the field, touch some grass and get going. And for DC, they're only playing 2 lines today because they're a little short-staffed with only 17 players. So they're going to bounce back and forth between 2 dedicated lines. We'll see how that serves them. We'll see how the depth of LA maybe wears down this DC team. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, Katie. I'm super excited for this game to get going. And Astra is going to start off pulling from right to left.
Yeah, Astra out there on D, it looks like. Naomi Guzman with the disc to pull, along with Violet Way, Veronica Yee, Avalon, Igawa, Cam Helm, Nadine Meister, and last but not least on that far side, Lexi Roy, the one DC crossover. Her sister, Molly Roy, was a practice player and is a longtime former Scandal captain. So maybe some DC fans watching might get a little bit of tunnel vision, seeing that they might see Lexi Roy out there, but it is DC off to the races. Moving quickly upfield. Harris with the disc. Back to Smith. Smith sneaks one upfield, really able to move the disc to both sides. France now with the disc. Pops one over the top, reeled in. Jess O. Looking calm, cool, and collected. Sydney Rader to Smith. Smith strikes upfield. And it's Ellen Mueller in the end zone for a clean DC Shadow hold to start the game.
That's a very, very clean hold with a lot of confidence from this DC Shadow O-line, moving downwind and just bouncing back and forth across the field to find the right angles to attack. There's nothing forced here in any way, and it's going to be important for this LA Astra team to put a little more pressure, I think, on those resets. Right there on that first point, it just seemed a little too easy, a little breezy, back and forth.
I will say that DC did not look concerned at any moment in that possession. They were really able to use their depth. I think 6, if not all 7 players touched the disc, and it was all kind of in that central field. And now we're going to get a look as the opposite line from DC is pulling, and the first offensive possession for Astra as that pull goes short and rolls. Lilith Brooks giving a little tap. Maddie Shade picks up to Sam Wool. Sam Wool coming over from Super Bloom. Yen with the disc. Maggie O'Connor floats back, but elects to go upfield to Wool instead. O'Connor with the disc. Using the full 10 seconds to find a reset. Now to Pritchard, swinging across to Shade on the sideline. She has options. Finds Brooks in the middle and up to Yen. It is Brooks to Yen for Astra's first score, and a clean one.
Fantastic patience from Astra right in the red zone. They had a couple opportunities to force it on the cones, first when Maggie O'Connor had it on the far side, and then when Shade had it on the near side. But that patience to say, you know what, let's play team ball, bounce it around a couple times, and again, timing. We're going to see a lot of that perfect timing out of Yen right around the goal line.
And that was really poised from both teams. I would say that the defense from both teams didn't really make an impact so much as the offense was clinical in finding the open player. But as these teams learn each other, we're going to have to see how they manage that. We're seeing this line. I wasn't going to say O-line because DC Shadow doesn't really play O&D, but as they're alternating two lines, and if the O-lines are scoring, it will end up being that way. As we see Carly Steiner pulling for Los Angeles.
Yeah, I just took a little check outside to feel what this wind is like. It's this May gray that is just kind of settling in, and it definitely is a little chilly out there for it to be LA in May right now.
Graham Cunningham to Smith. Finding captain Sammy Smalling. Looks like Astra has settled back into a person defense. Smalling out of bounds, and the first turn of the game comes from Shadow.
Yeah, nothing special on the defensive side. Just a little bit of pressure, but I think Smith just a little bit too much juice on that swing.
Oda up to So. So finding Johnston. Up the open side to Amy Lee. Working out of this vert stack. Dug out by Natalie So. And floats it a little bit up for Kramer. Steiner rips it out above Tyler Smith. And that inside lane, Smith hunting in the end zone for a D and gets it. Intended for Kramer, and a turn apiece in this game.
Really it's just a fantastic bit of concentration from Steiner to go get that.
Huck unleashed. Upfield, Pendleton in pursuit on the goal line. Tight defense from Astra, but it is a run through up from Smalling for the score.
Ooh, what a quick turn of events from what felt like a big momentum swing catch by Steiner on an overthrow to DC just going quick, and Huck. Confident and not like a booming Huck. One of these kind of Hucks that's like, oh, I'm just throwing it away pass to someone on a line drive. And that's a really smart decision from this DC team, who currently leads the league in team completion percentage, over 95%. Incredibly impressive to go for an entire game as a team completing 95% of your passes.
And that was also very good defensive pressure that they were able to put on Astra on that goal line, and it felt chaotic. It felt so different than those lines we had seen earlier, which seemed so poised.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this squad, I'm unsure what's going to happen if there is a break, but it kind of looks like they're going to settle into one half of the team is going to play upwind, the other half of the team is going to play downwind. And that confidence hucking downwind is one of those things that the coaching staff talked about. Hey, we want our downwind group to be confident in throwing it deep.
Astra on offense, Pritchard throwing upfield to Yen. Faked me out with that, intended for O'Connor. O'Connor gets it back. Upfield to Wool. No deep options available on that power position. Finds Maggie O'Connor. Just playing with the handlers back and forth at the moment. What an inside throw from Maggie O'Connor to find Maddie Shade. A missed switch from DC Shadow. Peters on the mark now. Into the ground, intended for Emily Ash. That lefty flick from O'Connor really letting her down in that space and giving DC their first break opportunity. Amanda Murphy with the disc now. Finds that inside, in and out of the hands of Wong. Quickly back in Astra's possession. O'Connor picks up. Leading to Wool again. No deep block. Pritchard finds something out of nothing. And too far.
Oh, a couple turnovers now. You can feel it. The pressure is mounting a little bit with the defensive intensity from both sides of the disc. That first one out of Maggie O'Connor, I think a balance issue. Kind of stood up tall to throw that flick around instead of leaning in and really bending the knees. And then this huck looked really nice. A really nicely shaped throw into the deep space, just a little too long.
Lori gets the disc. Puts it up, intended for Gentilette. Two receivers in the space. Gentilette gets it over Brooks. And a quick dish to the end zone for Wong. And that is a break. End zone to end zone possession for DC Shadow.
Yeah, hard to stop once they get rolling on this. And really, really beautiful space here. Lori coming under, uncorking a giant forehand upwind, really testing out how far it can get going. And the second time that we've seen one of these goals from a breakaway huck where DC is just pushing hard downfield and finding the nice easy secondary pass. They're not trying to do anything crazy. It's just, hey, here you go. Have a nice easy one.
The crowd is starting to fill in, and there are a lot of representatives from the college division here. It's college night here at the Lutzinger Stadium. And we're getting a look now. This Tyler Smith-led line is on defense. That was a very big break for DC Shadow. If they can get this other one, they're now going downwind. It will be a little bit crushing and much more difficult for Astra to come back. Natalie So up to Oda. DC poaching the lane a little bit. Finds So to Kramer. Kramer, unsure who that was intended for, but Sharon Sang gets it. So fakes upfield. Kramer in the middle. Elects to go inside again. Sharon Sang to Natalie So, and it's a score for Astra.
If you didn't like it once, why not do it again? Kramer, so much power from Kramer. I mean, just truly a power thrower. Also young, might need to settle down a little bit here. Maybe a little bit of those jitters in the first game. I think that they're playing, right? I think it's their first game of the season. So
I believe so. You said a lot of power, and I was going to say, oh, maybe too much, but that was a directly upwind inside shot. I think that the Astra receivers did a really great job there. You could see the UCI players that are here to support Sharon Sang and Naomi Guzman, who are their coaches. One of the things that happens in the women's division a lot is that the coaches of all the college teams are playing pro. And so it's really nice to see the college players supporting the coaches here in this line. But Astra down a break. So now they're going downwind. If they can cement this, right, it really helps them in this game because DC is not going to give the disc up easily.
Yeah, they certainly are not. We go back and talk really quickly about Sharon Sang there. 2 catches that were on overthrows that were not intended to her. We both have had the pleasure of playing with her as teammates. Just a consummate teammate. Always filling the role, filling the gap for whatever a team needs. And that time, it was just about keeping your head up and catching a couple overthrows.
Igawa marking the reset, goes upfield. DC finds Murphy. Murphy dishing back. That's Sour Beer with the disc now. And launches one deep. Maybe a hope and a prayer with that upwind and trusting that Gentilette is going to come down with it, powering above everybody else. Dang puts it up to Murphy in the end zone. What seemed like a hope and a prayer is now a sure thing for DC Shadow.
Yeah, wow, what a catch by Gentilette. Just taking up the space, got to the place first, boxed out a pile and went up to the top to go get it. and then calmly, coolly, just found a little outlet pass. I love to call this the outlet pass, where you're just changing the angle for the next throw. That's the downfield look for the shot. And it was an easy one from there, right? Wang threw a really nice, easy backhand, led to space towards the cone. No problem there at all. This is an interesting moment for the Astra defense, though. This felt like a huck and hope, as you said. That was the first time we've seen the reset defense from Astra. What their Coach Carlos, is talking about pregame. They're super focused on the reset defense. And so that was the first moment where we could actually see the pressure, resulting in a little bit of a a huck and hope.
Maddie Shade fielding the disc, moves it upfield to Sam Woll. Finds O'Connor through the traffic and the poach. No one guarding the deep space, and Brooks still in the handler's hands for Astra. Shade finds an outlet. Brooks coming all the way from maybe 70 yards deeper. Finds Ash. Looking for the reset. Shade. Big flick out to O'Connor, working out of that vertical stack. Pritchard on the inside. Really flat marks. Likes to go upfield.
What a throw from Pritchard.
That beach experience coming into play as Wool gets the disc now. Working upfield. Break out intended for Pritchard, who doesn't leave her feet. And now Tyler Smith picking up. Marked by Brooks. DC Shadow all the way to the sideline. Claire France holds the discs. An elevator pass upfield to Pendleton. Harris all the way to the end zone and too far.
Yeah, a bit of a line drive. That felt like straight out of the hand. Just a little bit inside out, and on that angle is going to push fast downwind, and it's going to get knocked down towards the ground. So it's going to feel like it's moving faster and faster. I was just going to compliment this DC Shadow team on how many thoughtful downwind throws they had made consecutively. That one just got a little bit away. It's really hard to huck a backhand downwind.
Intended for O'Connor, a turnover close to the end zone line. France on the doorstep, finding Smith. Brooks in pursuit, but it's another break for DC. Smith with the score.
Yeah, just a little bit of a loose pass, almost maybe like a little overconfident from Pritchard after the last one that was so beautifully done. That left-handed out into space that just floated onto for Maggie to run to that first time. This time, the same idea, but it was in a tighter window that was getting smaller and smaller instead of a wide window that was getting bigger and bigger over time, right? So in those situations when you're throwing to a window as opposed to a space, the pace of the disc needs to be different. When you're getting it into a tiny window like that, you need to be spinning it and snapping it and really delivering it to someone's chest. So that a little bit of an adjustment to make there for points moving forward. Now we've got the swing line, it looks like, back out on O for this LA Astra team. Really, really crucial to punch in a downwind hold here and just settle back into this game. Right? You're going to need your defense to get you a break to get back in. So it starts with this one possession going downwind.
Wong with the pull. So fields it up to Kramer. Kramer finding Lee. A poach in the lane from Onoe. So finding Lee again. Onoe tight on that reset mark, causing a turnover. Wong picking up. No hesitation from Shadow. Floating. Gentilette tries, but is out of bounds, giving the disc back to Astra.
Oh, in those transition moments there, you don't want to go rush to the disc because you end up wasting a couple stall counts, right?
Kramer with the disc, and you can see those small red cones in the sideline. It's a little bit harder for the players to see because it isn't an actual physical line on the field. We've seen 2 out of bounds on this near sideline. A pick potentially being called upfield. And signaling no call. It's going to come back in now with Lee. Finding So. Steiner looked like she had it, and then it skitters out of bounds. Sauerbier to pick up on that coffin corner line. Trapped on the end zone, and it's a turnover from Sauerbier. A huge block from Hanai Oda. That is who Coach Carlos Ruiz said that we would expect to get the first block, and if Carlos is putting his money where his mouth is, he just made some money in Vegas.
Yes, he did. What a call by him, and what a block by Oda. Just active hands, never relenting, on the mark. Beautifully done.
Kramer upfield to Lee. Slides on the knees, and it's a score for Astra.
Amy Lee, classic timing in the middle of the stack, waiting for the disc to start swinging before she put on the jets. Let's start with this block by Oda. Just really beautiful. Starts with the footwork, right? Just bouncing back and forth, staying very agile, and then sticks out the paw. Here we get back in the red zone, and it's Amy Lee to finish, and Kramer with a really, really nice pass right where only Amy Lee is going to be catching that one. I like to think of Amy as the player who made me a better thrower more than any teammate that I ever had. And that's mostly because she is a target that you hate to miss because she's open all of the time. So you want to make sure that you actually get it to her because she is just there.
Yeah, I would also say that we must mention that her stature is significantly smaller at under 5 foot, that you have a small window to hit, but she does get open and she's lethal in those small spaces, as we saw against the poaching flat marks of DC Shadow. So that was just a hold for Los Angeles. They are still down 2 breaks in this game as we have just under a minute to play in this first quarter. It might come to pass that the possession is in one team's hand when the clock runs out, and here in the Premier Ultimate League, they keep possession, and that is dug out by Claire France against this zone look from Astra, swinging across the field now with Smalling up to that push open side. It's O with the disc. Smalling moving upfield, but not seen by O. Finally found Smalling back to the middle.
Transition.
Sydney Rader now with the disc, trying to find an outlet, and it's Claire France who dug it out earlier. Can she do it again? 15 seconds on the clock, upfield to Smalling. Smalling lifts it. Tight defensive pressure from Astra. A touch from Greta Becker, but possession remains with DC Shadow. The clock is out. Harris with the disc, 10 yards out. Violet Way on the mark of Smalling, finding that inside backhand, and it's France with the score as the clock runs out. DC up 6-3.
What an incredible possession out of France and Smalling. They ran the show back and forth. It seemed like Smalling was completely unguardable in the reset space. Made her defender fall down multiple times. France dug out a crucial scooper to start the point and then scored.
And that is the score. Take it away. Don't go anywhere, though. More action coming back in the second quarter.
Welcome back to our game today, brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is thrilled to announce that the 2025 championship game will be held in Madison, Wisconsin on June 14th and 15th. This 2-day celebration of women's and gender-expansive professional ultimate will showcase the top talent in the league, promising an unforgettable weekend of high-level competition and community.
I will say I have called some games in Madison, Wisconsin, and I can't imagine a better place to hang out and watch Frisbee. So if you're anywhere in the area, maybe you should plan to be for the PUL Championship weekend.
Yeah, it's hard to find a city that is more welcoming and enjoyable in the middle of the summer. I don't know what it is, but Madison truly has something special in the air about it. Maybe it's the cheese. I don't know. Something about it. It just feels so good to be there and moving around and walking along the water. It's just an awesome experience. Highly recommend heading over there in June. And you're going to see the best of the game, right? Last year's championship game, which this DC Shadow team played in, was a really, really exciting game to watch. They ended up losing the New York Gridlock, but here we see them again, just working on their depth. This team is so good, and they are giving it to Astra right now. Very few turnovers and a lot of balance, as we expected from everyone across the board.
I think I've actually been really impressed with Sammy Smalling. Sammy Smalling is one of the captains of this team. That's Annalise Peters on your screen, who's going to pull for DC Shadow. Astra is going to be on offense. They're down 2 breaks, so this is a must-hold situation for them as they're working against the wind, almost directly upwind, as Sam Wool centers to Maggie O'Connor. Sumi Onoe on the mark.
You know what? This DC Shadow defense, they are really fronting all of the cutters downfield. And so Astra needs to find something else to do with their cutting patterns because they're a little too predictable right now. And that's what's hurting their flow moving all the way down the field.
An outlet to Yen. Looking for the small spaces. Wool. Brooks thinks about it, but does a sensible thing and puts it back to Wool. Up and over the fingertips of Meister. Peters, now a chance for DC going the other way, unleashing intended for Lori, and it floats to the turf.
Those downwind hucks, they seem so tempting, and they just require a little extra height, which is also complicated in its own right because if you give a little bit too much height, then the wind starts bouncing it around up in the air, so it's hard.
Yeah, but DC is really playing this possession game. They're putting it all the way down and forcing Astra to start on their own end zone line and struggle to work it upfield. Wool with the disc to O'Connor. Pritchard, guarded by Murphy, or Beans, as her nickname is. Finding Wool. Outlet to Brooks. Unleashes a backhand upwind intended for O'Connor, who released from the handler space, and it is O'Connor with the upwind score for Astra, keeping their hopes alive.
When you're not the tallest player on the field and you've got it way up in the air over your head, the best thing you can do is get to the spot first and then hold your position. This is so smart by Maggie O'Connor. She gets out into position, slows down just a touch to box out her defender, and as you can see, this huck hangs for what feels like minutes. I mean, it's up there and it just starts to float. But Maggie slows down, finds position, boxes out at the last second, and then catches it without ever having to leave her feet. Brilliant play by Maggie O'Connor.
You also have to say that Sumi Onoe played perfect defense in that space. They were in pursuit of that space. You can see they're closing the distance, getting on the open side, and it's just that little box out, putting it beyond the fingertips of the defender who was defending really well in that space, in a place where other defenders might get burned by a handler leaving the space. And that's the minuscule difference in these points is inches, moments, paying attention in those spaces. And that is a level that Astra is trying to get up to. It is a standard that DC and New York Gridlock have set in this league. And Astra, as a newcomer, has really been trying to get in this space. They're going downwind. They have a chance at D. They are have Avalon, Igawa, and then Mark in this spread zone. Upfield, Guzman almost gets the run through D. Julia Harris with the disc, finding Smith. Smith to Mueller. Mueller upfield, a flick intended for Smalling. Igawa in pursuit and gets a little bit too much body. Smalling calling foul. And it looks like a foul, no contest on Smalling.
On Igawa.
Sorry, Smalling is going to come in with the disc again. Roy on the mark of France. Mueller. Kramer guarding Mueller. Having to go backwards, looking at France. Helm gets beat upline by O. O looking at Smith, up and over. Oda, back to O. And there is a call? Question mark? Everyone has seemed to be frozen. I see only an observer saying that there was a timeout called before the catch. So that means that DC is going to retain possession, but the coaches who are allowed to do that have called a timeout to preserve that possession. Yeah, Coach
Maniloff saw something that he didn't like from the sideline. He was right there in the observer's ear because he was worried that this upwind opportunity for a break would get squandered. For their O-line to punch one and upwind. These are incredibly important little moments here to score upwind. And if it gets a little weird, a coach sees stuff like this and they do a great job.
And getting another look at this, Igawa in pursuit. I think gets a hand to it, but certainly gets a lot of body on this play.
Yeah, there's no quit out of Igawa. Just sees it up in the air and definitely gets some body on there. And she knows it. Immediately, no contest.
Several angles of that great catch by Smalling. As we come back in, it looks like not many substitutions have happened in this point. In the PUL, during a timeout, you can sub all 7 players on the field, but neither team electing to do that in this moment, as Tyler Smith is going to have the disc and Astra is pointing furiously at their matchups.
They're going to overload the front and try to prevent any scores to the cone directly from the first 2 cutters.
Smith finds Smalling in the smallest of margins right at that front space for the DC hold.
Kind of one of those little panicky moments. It was this really well-designed offensive look from DC out of the timeout. It did look really good, but Astra had the perfect defense for it. And when that happens, you would need one of your leaders to stay close and just make a play, and that's what Smalling did. I like Smalling a lot. Huge impact in this game in the first half so far.
Yeah, Smalling is one of the players who played with DC Rally, the mixed team out of the DC area. And they've really had an influx of players into the shadow side. A lot of players coming from the mixed side. It used to be a very DC scandal heavy roster, but it's now more balanced. The coaching staff is also contributing to DC Rally. And it's really one of the things to see about this DC squad is the community coming together in order to really promote this professional women's team. As we can see this defensive line, you can see Captain Jackie Wong talking there to Amanda Beans Murphy and Ashley Gentilette.
And I think, you know what, this would be a challenging early season normally for DC that wouldn't get as many reps outside due to weather. They've had a really, really mild spring, and so they actually have a lot of reps together, which has worked out some of that, different chemistry pieces from different club teams.
O'Connor leaning back and unleashing that one. It's floating and reeled in by Brooks. Tossed upfield for Yen outside the end zone. Having to run their end zone set. A little panicky for Maggie O'Connor, and a timeout being called by the Astra coaching staff as they have the disc on the end zone line.
Take a bow, Lindsey Cross. Coach Cross sees the same thing. I mean, this is almost identical. They're almost in the exact same spot on the field. It's getting a little squirrely. Yen's got the disc and now has got two resets that look like they're about to run into each other, and Cross just runs over to the observer to call a timeout. Really well called there. Might have been a goal, but you know what? Hold on to possession. Draw something up here.
Yeah, you can see Maggie O'Connor feel that almost thrown to back, and he's leaning back, popping that disc up a little bit more than intended, but Brooks just goes straight up and over. Onoe in pursuit. Yen here almost tiptoeing into the line, and it did look a little bit confusing.
Certainly, and you know what? Brooks is one of the younger players on the team that is incredibly athletic. I mean, you could just see her go to the top shelf to go get this one, and there's been a lot of chatter about her athleticism and what she can do on the field. So excited to see what else she can do here.
Yeah, Brooks and Yen were teammates at UCLA, known as Sonic and Buzz, respectively. So they know that connection. Maggie O'Connor floats one up and over, intended for Wool. Again, too high. Lori picking up for DC Shadow. Peters, Onoe. Astra trying to get set on defense. O'Connor now on the mark of Wong. Laying out was Meister. Brooks in pursuit, and a huge layout block by Brooks to save Astra's possession. That was intended for Tiara Romero Pena. O'Connor now with the disc. Finds Meister. The wind may be picking up because we're seeing all of these float. Maddie shade denied by Gentilette. And a shorter field this time. Wong picking up. Finding Peters. Wong still unmarked. Upfield, O'Connor now on the mark, and another unmarked player, this time Romero Pena, and it is a score and a break for DC Shadow.
Kind of a scrappy little point on both sides here. Just a bunch of layouts from Astra. An unbelievable catch-up block here by Brooks. And it just, you know what? It's a couple loose throws from Astra. Really surprising. They play in this wind all of the time. You think they'd dial in the spin a little bit more. It's like just a little bit high out of their hands and not fully locked in. Just sometimes you say, you know, you're throwing with your arms, but you can't forget to also throw with your legs, right, Katie? And it's about balance and making sure that you are really delivering it to your intended target.
I think it's also worth mentioning that it's really about adjusting to the wind. It was not as strong at the beginning of the game, and they were getting away with those elevator passes kind of up and over that flat mark of DC Shadow. But as the wind has gone, especially in that upwind direction, Astra just hasn't been able to find the outlets. So far, DC Shadow has done a better job of adjusting, but that pull goes a little bit short, centering to Guzman. Kramer. Now they're going downwind, finding Igawa. Roy makes a cut, but Igawa puts it too far. Steiner on Smith. Smith to Cunningham. Cunningham finding O. They're on their own end zone line, not really gaining yards against this flat mark of Astra. And a big D plucked out of the air by Naomi Guzman. Her players here in the stand go absolutely wild. Cam Helm with the disc finds Kramer.
fantastic patience after this block by Guzman. It just feels natural to get a big block like that in the end zone and just immediately pitch it to one of your teammates. Guzman settles down, finds someone wide open, and this is just huge. A must get play here by Guzman. Incredible job. Look, there's chances there, right? Could have squeezed something in, pushed it around, and then take the easy one. An unguarded pass for a goal at the end really settles this Astra team down.
I will say that line was actually able to exert some pressure on the handlers of DC Shadow, and then Kramer there at the front of the end zone with the score. Now interacting with the sideline, there's several players, like we were saying, from different colleges in the area. Kramer, a member of the Brain Eaters team, and you can see all of the Claremont people have driven out for this game today. I'm sure some of them are at home, but you're missing out if you're not at this stadium. I feel like we need to take another breath. There's still plenty of time in this as we see Veronica Yee with the pull for Astra. Getting it just past that half field mark. Looks like an offside was called, but it is not going to be accepted. Peters, too far. Intended for Onoway.
Can I say just how awesome it is to see Veronica Yee out there on the field today? Coming off an ACL tear and working her way all the way back onto the field. So special to see her out there. Just a special shout out to her for doing the work to be able to do this again.
As a physical therapist, she knows exactly how much work it takes. As we see So with the disc. Upfield, there's Yee with the leg sleeve. Stall count rising, finds an outlet in Lee. Not a lot of options for this Astra team. Back for Hawk. Hawk to So. So strikes upfield, but didn't really have the juice on that one. Violet Way was maybe the intended receiver, but upwind, that's a really difficult shot to hit.
It was almost like So could feel the shot clock going off there. Like, we're making too many tight passes too close to the end zone.
Peters now with the disc, slicing blade towards the back of the end zone. And is it Lori with the score? It is.
42 runs deep in the Lori family, and my goodness, what a read this time by Lizzie. Just an incredible back shoulder throw. This is not an easy one to read, right? It's peeling back, and you kind of got to change your body angle and reach out with your offhand, and it's spinning in that direction, so it has the tendency to actually jump out of your hand a little bit, so you've got to be so sure to one-hand this one over your shoulder like that. Beautiful catch.
Yeah, really great vision by Peters as well to find that space over the defenders who were really swarming in that underneath space.
And here's Shadow just, relentlessly applying this pressure. Doesn't matter if they start on O or D. All 17 of these players are so fundamentally sound on defense that they're applying pressure to Astra all over the field. 9-5, 4-goal lead here. Again, we keep saying this, but these are like must-hold situations for Astra before it starts to get away from them.
Meister finding Wool right to the chest. Wool now being guarded by Smith. Finds O'Connor in that wide space. Brooks faking and looking back for O'Connor. Finds Meister instead. Up and over the top. Too far for Brooks. Too short for Ash. And Tyler Smith puts one up and down.
Saw the breakaway coming from Pendleton, and I think it was a thoughtful decision. Just needed a little extra on it when it's going upwind like that.
O'Connor and Wool working together, finding Pritchard bobbled. Astra really not being able to connect their handlers to their cutters well. against this DC defense. DC gets D'd by Meister in that short space.
His coaching staff has been so high on Meister in the preseason and the first couple of games. They are expecting her to make an impact for this team for many years to come.
Yen now with the disc on the far side, working with O'Connor in the backfield, doing some give and goes up and out of the hands of O'Connor. More turnovers in this quarter of the field than we've seen in some time. Smalling putting the disc deep. Got a lot of yards on that, but no real receiver with a chance at it. They might just be playing possession and field position.
They're playing that field position game, and it's very much in their playbook. You can see that they're looking for the one-on-one matchup on an away shot. It doesn't matter if the player's short or too deep or what it might be. They're saying, okay, we have a little bit of power position. Let's give us a shot and play for position on the field.
Unsure what that conversation was between O'Connor, Cunningham, and Ma, the observer. Wool finds Brooks. Brooks looking for Ash. Again, just not connecting with those cutters in that space. And Cunningham turns it over. Maybe a timeout called as I see the DC Shadow coach walking onto the field. But it looks like a timeout was called before that throw to Cunningham. So it's going to stay in DC's possession as they use their second timeout.
I was just going to say, like, I heard what sounded like, an errant whistle from somewhere, like it was from a different field, but it was Maniloff calling the last time out of the half. I mean, so timely, right? How split second later, and it's a turnover going the other way for Astra. So really smart, wants to preserve this opportunity to go up 5, going upwind. This is huge right here. And if you don't use them, right, like they're not going to hold over to the next half. So this saw his last opportunity to get good value out of his timeout, and we'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, we've seen DC really use the field position game where they're trying to gain yards, but they're also managing the clock well. As we can see now that there's less than 2 minutes to play, every moment that they can keep Astra from scoring this downwinder benefits them later in the game. And those kind of, I guess, nuanced plays, experienced plays from playing in timed quarters versus to a point total in USAU rules.
Yes.
All of those kind of things really add up in this league. And it's experienced coaches like that that have really helped anchor DC as they get back in action, up and into the hands of Onoe. Romero Pena with the disc now being marked by Steiner. Steiner gets a piece of it, and that's a block for Astra. 4 turns apiece in this point after the timeout. Helm throws it away, intended for Oda, and floats harmlessly to the sideline. Wong picking up, now marked by Helm. Up for Murphy. Looking for that reset to Wong. Slips to the ground, finds Peters instead, almost on that sideline. Agawa on the mark, shoots upfield and into the hands of Sourbeer. And a break upwind for DC Shadow.
Wow, you can see why this DC Shadow team is a title contender year in and year out, because 2 times after this last turnover did we see a very, very intelligent backhand break throw. They felt the defender be too close on the sideline. It's almost like there's this like invisible field where you're like, oh, you know what, that defender right there, that extra defender of the sideline, I'm going to use that to help. You actually need to take a step off to take away that angle. Otherwise, the around backhand down the line, which feels hard, ends up being deadly for the defense. Twice.
Absolutely. That disc was out of bounds, right? It was out of bounds and it came back in. Sourbeer knew exactly where that was going to be. And in a point that had, to my count, 9 turnovers, which is more than we had in the entire second quarter, was a huge momentum shift and win, I think, for the DC Shadow team who's here on the road. Astra trying to move quickly upfield, giving and going, but now in the hands of O'Connor, stalled a little bit. Finds Meister. That flat mark of Mueller. Floated up, reeled in by Wool. Smalling on the mark. Wall shoots inside. Wool shoots inside.
Oh, and Ash was so open. It's one of those, like, just throw it near the rectangle kind of situations. And I don't know if there maybe got a piece of it on the mark there by Smalling. It looked like it just came out wobbling a little bit.
Smith upfield to France as they go downwind. The shadow looms large. Meister tried to get in there to get a piece of it. And it looks like Cunningham calling a foul. I'm seeing a no contest hand signal there, meaning they do not disagree. It's going to be a foul here.
And if it's on Meister, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, she needs to return to where the foul happened here?
That is the rule, yes. In that case, it wasn't necessarily enforced because she had been poaching in that space, as we see a pick or something else. And it looks like the time has run out in this possession. So the way that it works in the PUL is that this possession continues. So if DC can score as Smith shoots the end zone intended for Gentilette, it is a dagger in the heart of Los Angeles after time has run out. DC notches another one to put their lead up 11-5.
What a throw to end the first half. My goodness. Mueller just leans in. It was Smith who just leaned in and put a perfect shape on this with that little extra height. I mentioned it earlier in the game when you're throwing downwind. That little extra height is so important to gauge correctly so it doesn't bounce too much. And you can see Smith finds the outside shoulder, gently with a perfect read. Easy clap catch, no real issue. What a finish for the first half.
Yeah, and Gentilette, the Iron Woman of DC Shadow, gets the score to put them up by more than double in the first half action here in the South Division of the Premier Ultimate League. We have more coming up in the second half. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Come on, Brad!
If you're here today with your college team, make it out to the field, midfield, as soon as you can. Go on, you crazy kids.
calm, cool, and collected. Sydney Rader to Smith. Smith strikes upfield, and it's Ellen Mueller in the end zone. Looking calm, cool, and collected. Sydney Rader to Smith. Smith strikes upfield, and it's Ellen Mueller in the end zone. She has options. Finds Brooks in the middle and up to Yen. It is Brooks to Yen for Astra's. She has options. Finds Brooks in the middle and up to Yen. It is Brooks to Yen for Astra's. Hawk unleashed. Upfield, Pendleton in pursuit on the goal line. Tight defense from Astra, but it is a run through up from Smalling.
It's really nice. A really nicely shaped throw into the deep space, just a little too long.
Lori gets the disc, puts it up, intended for Gentilette. Two receivers in the space. Gentilette gets it over Brooks, and a quick dish to the Kramer in the middle. Elects to go inside again. Sharon saying to Natalie's wind and trusting that Gentilette is going to come down with it, towering above everybody else. Dang puts it up to Murphy in the end zone. What seemed like a step, finding Smith. Brooks in pursuit, but it's another
on the mark. Beautifully done.
Kramer upfield to Lee. Slides on the knees, and it's the disc 10 yards out. Violet Way on the mark of Smalling, finding that inside backhand, and it's France with the score. Finding Wool. Outlet to Brooks. Unleashes a backhand upwind intended for O'Connor, who released from the handler space, and it is O'Connor with the... Finding Wool. Outlet to Brooks. Unleashes a backhand upwind intended for O'Connor, who released from the handler space, and it is O'Connor with the...
And try to prevent any scores to the cone directly from the first two cutters.
Smith finds Smalling in the smallest of margins right at that...
Together, which has worked out some of that, different chemistry pieces from different club teams.
O'Connor leaning back and unleashing that one. It's floating and reeled in by Brooks. Tossed upfield for Yen outside the end zone.
Together, which has worked out some of that, different chemistry pieces from different club teams.
O'Connor leaning back and unleashing that one. It's floating and reeled in by Brooks. Tossed upfield for Yen outside the end zone. Laying out was Meister. Brooks in pursuit, and a huge layout. Laying out was Meister. Brooks in pursuit, and a huge layout. Upfield, O'Connor now on the mark, and another unmarked player, this time Romero Pena by Naomi Guzman. Her players here in the stand go absolutely wild. Cam Helm with the disc, finds Kramer.
They're like, we're making too many tight passes too close to the end zone.
Peters now with the disc, slicing blade toward the back of the end zone, and is it...
They're like, we're making too many tight passes too close to the end zone.
Peters now with the disc, slicing blade toward the back of the end zone, and is it... Finds Peters instead, almost on that sideline. Agawa on the mark, shoots upfield and into the hand round. Finds Peters instead, almost on that sideline. Agawa on the mark, shoots upfield and into the hands of this possession. So the way that it works in the PUL is that this possession continues. So if DC can score as Smith shoots the end zone intended for Gentilette, it is a dagger in the heart of Los Angeles. Possession. So the way that it works in the PUL is that this possession continues. So if DC can score as Smith shoots the end zone intended for Gentilette, it is a dagger in the heart of Los Angeles. the ground, finds Peters instead. Almost Kramer elevates to retain possession, finds Helm on the far side, fakes the big backhand, puts a flick upfield to Steiner, who unleashes a flick of their own. Roy in pursuit all the way to the end zone. Does she have the legs still? You bet.
Yes, she does. Against her hometown team, Roy legs one out, and what a perfectly weighted flick huck from Steiner out into space. All of the trust in the world, but this all started with Oda in that space on the up lines. There was multiple times where it was just a burned cut up line, and Oda kept peeling off and saying, I'm going to stop the next one. I'm going to stop the next one. Really heads up smart defensive pressure, and it resulted in the overthrow. And then Steiner got that block. What a play. Great team defense.
And that is the first break that Astra has had in this game. They're down 5 breaks, but now just 4 because they've notched that one back, and it's a clean break for them.
First break of the game for them. That's so huge. So huge.
Yeah, it wasn't their first break chance, but those have been very hard to come by against this DC team. Now DC is going to be working downwind. I was going to say the Roy household who might be watching might have divided loyalties, but that was a great score for Lexi Roy, whose 2 kids are in the stands watching her play today, which is pretty special. A shorter pull for Astra, giving the disc to DC at half field.
Wow. Incredibly hard backhand force there.
Onaway to Gentilette, who makes a good readjustment and then floats it out for Wong too far in that downwind space. Deceptively difficult throw that away flick. It looks like an injury being called there by Wong after the hard impact with the ground.
I'm not surprised Wong went to the stratosphere on that one. She put everything out there, fully horizontal and high in the air. It's a long way to fall without anything to help brace your fall on this turf.
Stella Diedzik picking up in her first professional game. And it's a difficult position to be in, trapped on that sideline, finding the outlet to Hawk. Hawk getting called for travel, immediately moving backwards. Finds Lee working within inches of that sideline. Lee out to Hawk, finally getting it off the sideline, but not a lot of continuation. So makes a cut. Upfield, Murphy gets ahead of Violet Way.
Oh, it's just so close. The edges of these things are so close. If Hawk gets that continuation pass off, everything's different.
Sourbeer upfield and on and off the fingertips of Romero Pena, giving Astra another break chance. Upfield, slicing, intended for Way again, and this time out of bounds. Brian Bradburn going to drop the beanbag where that disc comes in. It's a shorter field if Astra can get the D here. DC has played the possession game, and Peters has known to put it deep. Will she do it again? Elects for the scoober over the top. Romero Pena knew it was coming. Gentilette doing the give and go. Reeled in by Lori, being marked by Dietzik. Tight window to Romero Pena. Murphy. Sourbeer settling things down a little bit. Gentilette snagged out of the sky. 10 yards to go. Murphy resets to Sourbeer. Murphy and Sourbeer giving and going up the line, and it's that up line cut that's so textbook and works there for DC Shadow after what was a shaky point for them.
Yeah, shaky point, but I really like the usage rate of Murphy. Seems like she doesn't get tired at all. I mean, she is working and working and working, and then her defender has to switch, and she's still working and working, and it's like that is the kind of thing that inspires your teammates to keep working hard when you see someone doing that kind.
Yeah, Amanda Beans Murphy certainly has an Enshin and Sour Beer going almost every other throw for that entire point. More families filling the stands. I think that one belongs to you, Chris Mazur.
I saw a couple that I recognized there. Yes. Happy to see them here.
It's very exciting, but really what we think that they would like to see more is an Astra win. But that hold going downwind after the really good chances that Astra had makes this more out of reach. Again, this is the second half. The clock is counting down. This is an offensive possession and a must hold for Astra as Wool picks up the disc and breaks the mark out to Pritchard. Has Yen going deep. Yen in pursuit, tipping, towing the line and inbounds for the UCLA alum connection. Pritchard to Yen for a smooth hold.
Very smooth two-pass possession from the Astra offense, and it was a simple play call here. Pritchard loves to see Yen turning her back and going to the end zone because zoom, Yen, she can fly. Watch her go.
The footwork there to make sure that she was in, you said zoom Yen, and usually we're saying zoom Cami Groom. Cami Groom, a member of this DC Shadow team who has actually not made the trip, probably prepping for the World Games. But this is a team that doesn't necessarily need to rely on those superstars. They're really deep as a program, and I think it's nice not to have to rely on those players.
Absolutely.
But you like to have him, and really I think Astra needs a player who's going to take over in that star power kind of a way. And there's so many young players here who could step into that role. They're really getting their first look at this professional thing because Astra, while still a team, didn't have a league to play in last year. So there's a lot of young players who are really hungry to make their mark. They're going to have to start to do it on defense as DC Shadow Sour Beer picks up to Murphy. A flat mark from Astra. It looks like Kramer on Murphy. Snagged by Sour Beer on that sideline, shooting upfield, then Steiner reads it perfectly to get the interception for Astra. Finding Guzman.
Travel.
Steiner is such an underrated defender, really sets her person up often in the away space. She's long and she loves to just cut off those hucks the way she did just there for that D.
Shooting upfield, I think maybe Gentilette got a piece of that one. Wong back on the field, unhesitating. Steiner tries to get it, but Lori with the score for DC Shadow.
What a catch by Lori, just so confident and just all of the chaos happening, limbs all over the place. Oh man, this is a beautiful block too by Gentilette. Gets out wide, takes that step off of the mark to make the angle harder, and then here comes just chaos, but Lori, confident as can be, cool, and what a catch.
Yeah, you can get another look at this piece that Gentilette gets, and then Wong is there to make sure, picks up unhesitating, floats it over the top, and Lori is really experienced in that space, pushes deep, trusting that somebody's going to get there, and then is in a position to read on that disc. It's so heartbreaking as a defense, to get a block like Steiner does, and then to get the blocker to get blocked back is there. It just can take the wind out of your sails. And LA having to start that chance again. They got to get a hold. They're going downwind.
Yes, they do. This is it. I mean, again, they got to, right? They got to do it. They absolutely have to. Look at all these kids out here. It's a family friendly event. Come on out. Come check out this Astra team if you're watching at home. We'd love to have you out here.
O'Connor picks up to Wool in that inside space, shoots deep. Yen, the intended target, and the receiver up and over the top. It's 2 throws and a score again for Astra. Chip Yen statting the stats right
There's
there.
a reason we called her out in the pregame. Katie, it's because she is such a strong deep receiver. She leads the league in blocks. She's in the top 3 in goals scored, probably going to lead the league in goals scored after today. And you know what? Astra said, I don't think they have someone to guard Chip. We should just probably throw it to her a bunch. Wonderful play here. A trust throw, really, from Wool, right?
Yeah, and they're using this downwind direction up and over the top. Really well defended there by Shadow in a really safe place, tight D, but Yen elevating up over the top.
You know what's also interesting? Shadow have made a number of adjustments early in this game to be successful. This is the first real adjustment that I've seen from Astra. They're being fronted downfield and back-to-back goals on away shots. That's so important for their offense moving forward.
And we just saw Coach Carlos Ruiz, who coaches the Mexican national team here, the defensive coach for Astra, and we'll see if he has been able to make any defensive adjustments that's going to get a turn as we see DC Wong putting it up, intended for Gentilette. Steiner in pursuit, but Gentilette alone. They are throwing punches back. DC says, oh, you can do that, LA. So can we. We've been here longer. Let's see what you can do. And Gentilette just has a nose for the end zone.
Oh, does she ever. And Wong, boy, experience at like every level of the game. Played in so many different cities at this point, from San Francisco to New York and DC and everywhere. And the confidence, you can see, it's like, I've been there before. I can just do my thing, and I trust my teammates out in the space.
And that score for DC Scandal is actually their first clean hold of the second half. Astra has been able to get turns on all of the subsequent points, but Astra hasn't, DC Shadow hasn't been able to break in this second half. They've just continued to maintain that point differential. Astra going downwind, this O-line again, it's been a very high scoring for the amount of time that we've played. Third quarter.
It has. I mean, open the game up. This is great. We'd love to see fast scores. Let's score another 10. Why not?
It is fun to watch as that PUL is very short, not even making it to half field. O'Connor picking up. Upfield again for Wool.
DC did not want to get burned by Yen a third time in a row, so they double covered her in the deep space.
Gets it under. Yen to Wool. Wool back like a pinball machine. O'Connor grabs it out of the air, signaling where she wants that reset, up and over the top. Too much excitement, and gives the disc to DC. France with the score, upfield to Smalling. O'Connor crashes to the ground, and it's Wool who gets in between the hands of Pendleton to get the disc back and launches deep. Brooks in pursuit. Up and over the top. A foul may be called by Tyler Smith. Looking at this again. Whew. That was all sorts of spicy, Chris Mazer.
I'm kind of speechless by this roofing that we just saw from the birthday girl. Brooks just goes way up and just goes, this is mine. She says, this is my disc. I understand that you're on the field, but I'm getting this one. What a pursuit.
I can understand why there's a call coming here from Tyler Smith, because there was a lot of contact, and Smith did try to go up, and Brooks did come over the top a little bit.
Certainly.
But I think sending it back to the thrower in this case is within the spirit of the rules, and Astra retains possession as Yen has the disc, giving it to Pritchard.
God, you can see the systems in it being worked through by both teams. The nonverbal communication, the pump fakes, the pushing people into different spaces. They're clearing for each other.
The handlers not able to connect with the cutters. Meister was making too horizontal of a cut, and that was out of the hands. It's another chance for DC. Upfield, Smith finding Smalling. Smalling upfield, a pick called on Mueller. You can see that hand gesture coming up, almost looking like football upright, which is the question here. Yen making that argument, it seems, that she was impacted from being able to catch up. It looks like the disc is going to stay with Mueller. Aggressively marked, that flat up mark. O'Connor now on Smalling. O with the disc. Faking. Smalling again, getting that reset valve. A travel call puts it back into play. Smith, Smalling released. O'Connor getting roasted up line. Smalling now on the line to Smith, to Smalling. It's a break and a travel. Okay, it's not a break yet. It's a travel called.
Rescinded.
And rescinded. And now a score. Oh, I got excited and then I didn't get excited. And it is a break for DC Shadow.
Oh, what a luxury it is to have Smith and Smalling on your D-line, just playing pitch and catch and just driving into this space. I can't get over the power that Smalling cuts with. You can see how she sets her body position up to be out in front and drive forward. Even when she's about to throw, it's like she's already running and her momentum is taking her into a space that puts the defender on their heels instantly. That is so hard to stop. And when you have all the trust in your teammate and Smith, oh boy, that's a tough one to stop. That was just a downhill sledding for them.
Astra has seemed that they can work it with their handlers, and when they put it, they can make connections with the throwers. But when they have to grind, the handlers aren't connecting with the cutters, and they aren't able to gain yards. Alternatively, I don't think that DC really had to use their cutters because they went upline and reset the disc over and over and over. And you don't have to make connections with your cutters if your handlers are gaining yards. And upwind, I think that's how you have to do it, because it's a strong breeze out there, Chris Mazer, as now Astra is going upwind against what looks like a DC zone or poach scheme. Steiner with the disc.
It's the first different defensive look we've seen out of DC.
Kramer slides it in. Guzman elects to go back to Oda, to Kramer. Has Igawa on the far side, but trying not to get trapped on that side. Steiner. The field inches closer. Backward to Oda, to Kramer. Finding Igawa in that outlet, stays in bounds. Doesn't have an upfield release. Oda. Too low to the ground. A missed throw from Igawa, giving a short field.
This is one of those strategic wins from the DC coaching staff, right? They had a long point on the point before. Astra has, as they punch it in. Wow, what a play by DC. It's one of these things, right? You're feeling the momentum of the game shifting back and forth. You haven't shown any sort of a defensive look that's anything with the matchup. And then this time, you know what? Your O-line is walking over to the sideline. You know what we're going to do? We're going to show your D-line a zone, which you probably haven't practiced a lot against, and let's see what you can do. To their credit, lots of passes. Astra looked pretty good here. They saw both sides of the field. They just never broke through to the second layer to really push downfield. And then on a turnover, I don't know how you stop this DC Shadow team. They're relentless. They are just pushing.
There are 12-minute quarters, and Astra had the momentum for the first 9 minutes of this quarter. And then just in the last 30 seconds, DC tries to 1-2 punch in a surprise. And that is what they are good at doing. They are consistent, right? They aren't making a lot of mistakes, and they are absolutely pouncing on any mistake, small mistakes that Astra is making and penalizing them for it in this upwind downwind game.
It's such a good point, Kitty, right? Because that wasn't like some big block it wasn't a takeaway. It was like a pressure takeaway by a full team that was together doing their thing.
The O-line back on the field. Wool with the disc in her hands, finding shade. Upfield intended there for Ash. Up and over the top and gives right back. Wool swatting it. One turn apiece. O'Connor finds Yen. Finds Brooks. Back to O'Connor. Wool so good in that upfield space. She won a national championship with UC San Diego in 2019, one of the unsung handlers on that squad, as Yen punches it up to Ash. And the downwind for Astra.
Oh, and they needed it. They really needed it. They were so fundamental when they got to the red zone too, right? They kind of got stalled out a little bit in the middle. They had all their momentum going one way, and then they settled in. They got into their structure, and Wool makes a beautiful leading pass. It was a break and a swing in the same throw that Yen could run onto, and then there's no mark for this finish. And the timing from Ash off the back of the stack was impeccable. Really, really nicely done by their O-line.
Hey, Lou, do you know
now it's time to make a play, Katie. It's time. The time is now, right? Got to go get a block. Got to get a little momentum.
A minute and a half left in the third quarter.
Yeah, Carly, it's true.
There is no time better than now, as we see Yi running over to get the disc to make the pull. They have the wind against them.
Who are you bowing to, Jackie?
The score is against them, but really everything to play for. Especially because not every team plays each other in this league, so point differential can matter against common opponents. So if they're going to try to make an impact in this league, they have to get every single point that is available to them. A shorter pull and a block from Natalie So gives them the disc. Hawk picking up, finding So in the outfield. Yi unmarked in that middle space. Finds Lee. Backhand slicing, floating into space. Genelette versus, it looks like Brooks. And Violet Way almost gets the second effort. Johnson there. So on the mark against Peters. A second chance for Shadow at this downwind O possession. A backhand mark from Hawk. Sourbeer puts it up to Murphy. Romero Pena going deep. 24 seconds on the clock, laying out his way. Murphy with the disc again. Centers to Peters. A pick on Onoe.
Pick call.
This assuredly makes it the final possession of the quarter.
And it looks like the clock has wound down, so it's all DCs to play for. Astra really needs a block here as Peters finds Sourbeer. Sourbeer to Gentilette. Again, the end of the quarter. Time management is mastered by DC Shadow.
They've scored now all 3 quarters to finish, and that sometimes in a game, in a professional game with these quarter breaks, that will win you the game by itself, Katie.
A commanding lead from DC Shadow, up 17-9, 1 quarter to play. Don't go anywhere. We have more action coming up soon.
Welcome back. Our live stream broadcast today is brought to you by TVX Sports Video. The high definition action wouldn't be possible without the support of TVX. They're available for your live stream broadcast needs at tvxvideo.com. Also, today's broadcast is brought to you by Santa Monica Brew Works. It's the first and only independent craft brewery in Santa Monica. They brew California-inspired beers for those who live in the beach brewed lifestyle. Visit their brewery and tasting room at the corner of 19th and Colorado. There's free parking. They've been hosting many Astra meet and greets, have delicious food and tasty beers. Go grab a pint and tell them Astra sent you. It's a great spot, Katie. I've been there a couple times myself. I'm not going to lie. It's really nice.
The fact that there's free parking, honestly, for anyone in Los Angeles should just be the selling point.
It's pretty great.
It is pretty great, and they are very family friendly.
You know what? There's even another sponsor here. Why don't we get one more while the teams are cracking on? We'd like to thank our sponsor, Far Field Beer Company. After party for today's match is just down the road at Far Field Beer Company. Farfield's giving Astra fans 15% off when you mention us at your order. Fans are welcome to bring friends, family, children. Farfield is located at 4471 West Rosecrans Avenue right here in Lawndale. So if you're listening and you're out there and you're close by, why not meet us there after the game?
It is 12 minutes to play. A significant margin that LA has to make up. They're starting on they're starting on O, but they're going downwind. And both teams still have 2 timeouts. No timeouts used in that third quarter. They gotta do some work. They gotta hope for a miracle. Something has to change in the air for this not to be DC Dominion.
You know what? I think you made such an important comment in the last quarter, Katie. It's not just about the win-loss column here. The point diff matters when you only play 6 games in your regular season. And every point here could be an important piece for them to still make the playoffs, even if they lose tonight. So they've got to focus in together, support each other, and believe in the growth over the entire season, point by point, not just wins and losses.
Guzman finds Oda as Astra takes the field in the offensive position, losing yards. Guzman slices upfield. Roy rolls. And inside for Helm. The flat marks again for DC, really stymieing the upfield movement. Guzman finds it. Back to Helm. The Lotus teammates working it, finding Igawa. To Roy in that interior space. Guzman, Oda flowing downfield on the end zone line. Kramer and Steiner. It's not flowing quite as fast. Up and Igawa finds the floater from Steiner. I didn't know if she was going to keep it inbounds, but the awareness there from Avalon Igawa to hold for Los Angeles coming into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, my goodness. The real estate was running out in a hurry, and Igawa takes a quick little check down to make sure she's keeping those feet in, and she had a couple steps to spare, but what a nice little leading pass here from Steiner when they finally went swing to attack the other side of the field. Really important hold there for the Astra.
And this fourth quarter will actually be very interesting. I think it's something we haven't talked about in a while. DC only has 17 players here. And while they have been excellent and really using the full depth of their team, I think Astra has an entire extra line of players. And if you're going to make a comeback in the fourth quarter, you have to do it with your legs. And Astra just might have the legs to do it, as we see Maggie O'Connor crossing over onto this D-line, joined by Yen and Brooks. It's a stronger D-line. A lot of players that have been on the O-line for Astra now lining up as O'Connor pulls right to half field. Almost exactly on that 50-yard line.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time to shorten your roster if you're Astra, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with this. It kind of just looks like it's the O-line that's going to be playing a point.
Smith unleashes. It looks like it's intended for Mueller. Brooks crosses the path to be sure, but that one was very long.
That's right. This is the entire O-line. They were hoping to get a turn so that they could try to punch one in upwind. I actually do really like this decision by the coaching staff to switch things up.
O'Connor and Shade, Maggie and Maddie working together, finding Diedzik. To O'Connor, not gaining yards, but continuing to maintain possession. Finally finding Yen upfield. Brooks making a cut. Diedzik going up line. It looks like a timeout being called by head coach Franklin Rowe to maintain possession, as that stall was getting very high and the looks really weren't materializing for Astra.
I felt like I was Peyton Manning watching Monday Night Football up here. I was just doing this over and over and over again. I'm so proud that Rowe called that timeout. Crucial upwind hold here. The O-line had kind of stalled out a little bit, and that was mostly because DC just refused to give a reset. They got to that sideline and they said, you're staying right here. The wrap marked, the wrap was active, and the backfield defender said, not coming back here today.
I think that the cutters for Astra are open too early. They're open before the thrower is really set to throw that upwind, and then when that first cut doesn't materialize, they aren't getting second and third options upfield. Mm-hmm. And DC is doing an excellent job shutting down the resets like you were talking about, and so they really aren't able to gain yards or gain flow in the way that they want to get.
And
I think that, this is a reset moment for Astra because they're trying to go upfield, but it does give DC a chance to put on a different defensive look and line, as we're seeing some slightly different players out here on the defensive. It looks like a violation call there from Smalling. Maybe players went before the whistle was blown or before it was tapped live. We're going to see how this comes back in. As we have this, it does make me miss sometimes the microphones we are able to have on players and field, but I think it would honestly be too windy today to really hear anything. But we'll just have to go to the good old standby of charades and hand signals to figure out what is going on down there, as now Maddie Shade has the disc again on that line. So it looks like a violation was called, maybe moving too early. Maggie O'Connor gets it in that middle space, guarded by Smalling. Shade goes up line, finds a release valve in Yen, to Brooks.
Brooks has been really impressive today. Just really stellar downfield reset for the offense.
Run through D by Mueller on Pritchard. Gives DC back the disc. It is their hold. They're going downwind, and Smith and Smalling, who have been so consistent, have a miscue in that give and go space. Shade slices one for O'Connor, slightly behind, maybe tipped by the defender, and deja vu all over again. Smalling picking up in the middle of the field.
Yeah, just got to spin the disc. And O'Connor gets the block off the first pass. Is that the little piece of momentum here? If they can settle down and punch it in upwind, that could be a difference maker. DC looks tired, Katie. I said pregame, if Astra could keep this close, I think they win the fourth quarter just on legs alone.
We'll have to see. The stall count rises, losing yards. Shade slicing upfield, and another run through D from DC. This time, Harris with the run through D as Smith picks up.
Yeah, boy, I spoke too soon because, my goodness, what a fantastic block by Harris. Just won the foot race outright to the open side. And DC this time, they see the issue, so they call the timeout. Smart timeout by the coaching staff.
I don't know if that was the coaching staff. I think that may have been Tyler Smith on field, who really didn't see anything materializing. They have 2 to use. They've used now 1 more, and both teams, again, in a timeout, can sub their full line, which is what it looks like LA is electing. Actually, both teams are electing to do, to completely change the lines. So when we come back in, just to cement us and where we were, DC has the disc going downwind. They started this point on offense. Astra put on most of their O-line to try to get a block, and they have 3 turns on this DC side, 3 turns apiece in this game. So this would still be a hold for DC. Astra needs to get a break. And honestly, DC needs to run out the clock more maybe than they need a score, because there are now 7.5 plus minutes left in this quarter, and therefore in this game.
I mean, yeah, look, turnovers are going to run out the clock. This fourth quarter is moving quickly. I feel like every turnover is like a 30-second clock run at this point.
And that was a punt and a prayer, a high stall count coming in there on that timeout. Gives LA the disc again. Hawk now picking up upfield. Gentilette, the run through D this time. Putting a clinic on that underneath defense. It looks open, and it is not. Now picking up, it looks like Sour Beer up and over the top, and Wong toes the line, and the awareness to finally give DC their hold.
You know what's something about Jackie Wong that's always impressed me? It's this unrelenting confidence of I've been there before. Like, watch her, she catches this, toes the line, looks at it, yeah, I did it, put the disc down, all good, swaggers off every time. Very, very good player in small spaces.
Yes, but I think it's really the awareness, because she, if you ran it back even further, she cuts upfield, upline, doesn't get the disc, clears while still looking at the disc, and provides a reset option that is not in that open side lane. And, Jess Sourbeer, they are teammates here on Shadow, but also on DC Scandal, and knew that player was ready in that space. And I think it's that skill set that allows you to make something out of that second or third part of your cut that is viable, that is so deadly. Because you could see Sharon saying played excellent defense on the upline and then couldn't get there in the weird space. And this is offense and intended for Brooks, but it just almost didn't have the lungs to talk about it because that previous point took so long.
Yeah, just almost a desperation style offensive play here. I do not blame Astra for giving it that look. Just a little bit long in the legs from Maggie.
Peters gets the upfield and that inside break up to Lori. They're slicing with the backhands. Gentilette, a bobble. It looks like Wool with the disc again. A lot of players going deep, but no one really isolating themselves. Floats it for O'Connor, who finds Ash, catches, and then loses it on ground contact. Wong upfield, and Disick with the D in the space. It looks like Peters is calling an injury on the play. Murphy coming in. What a heads up block from Disick. I think Peters just hit the ground a little bit hard and is taking a moment.
It's one of those moments where you expect a certain thing to happen with your body. The block happens way out in front of you, right? And then you hit the ground kind of like in a weird way because you weren't expecting there to be someone else in the space.
Yeah, we're back in action. O'Connor shooting for the end zone intended for Yen. Ash was in the space, but it's O'Connor to Yen for the punch back from LA.
Another score from Yen, putting on a clinic, running towards the big rectangle. Really important hold here from the offense, and really tight throwing window from O'Connor here, right? That is like the same tenth of the field that she is trying to thread with this forehand outside in, and perfect lead, good toes, nice hold.
All smiles from the Astra sideline, but they are still down by 7 with 5.5 minutes to play. Picking their matchups. Seeing how they're going to make this happen. Chris, what would you be saying on the sideline down there?
Well, looking at this defensive unit, they've done a couple very intentional things with the way they've been marking. Very, very vertical 90-degree mark on a backhand force, saying you cannot throw it to a reset. This time, I would say all-out pressure. That's it. All-out pressure. Time is now. Go get crazy as much as you can.
That was hard to see, but that pull went up and over the field and then out the sideline, giving DC a shorter field coming in at about the 40-yard line, with Smith going to center the disc. Not the pull that you want to have happen when you're trying to mount a comeback.
It's precious time wasted too, right? The clock's running the whole time. We're under 5 minutes to play.
Smith and Smalling finding O upfield. Inside, it is a layout catch. Making it look easy was France with the throw from Harris.
Oh, what a confident catch. 2 hands going to the turf. Was there even one rotation of the disc on this pass? I don't know, Katie. It was a bit of a knuckler and just a really, really, gosh, what a catch.
Backhand, and France laying out there. The throw comes so quickly from Harris before Kramer can get there. Roy doing a great job of not creating a collision. But France there, that is a really elite layout because you have to pull the trigger so quickly. The thrower almost didn't catch fully before they're releasing that throw, and that's trust, that's system, but it's also elite players like Claire France, who is one of the few players who does not live in DC.
Oh,
I think there are only 2 who are not living in that DC area, and Claire France travels.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, with the talent, opportunity, and the depth in the DC area, it's you better be a playmaker with that kind of elite skill set to make this roster if you're coming from outside of town.
And Astra floating one up. Yen guarded by Murphy on that far sideline. Too far for shade. Peters picks up. Good to see her back on the field after the injury called. Onoe with the disc now. Up to Murphy. The backhand force from Yen. Behind Lori. No one else is aware. Sourbeer puts it up. And Onoe with the score. Upwind, the back breaker from the DC Shadow squad.
This is the most efficient defensive unit I think I've watched in a long time. The rest of the PUL needs to be on notice, because if you turn it over to the DC Shadow, you're probably just going to go and receive the next pull, because they just don't give it back. They're relentlessly cutting up field, and even when they make a mistake, someone's got their head up and picking up their teammates. They're hard to stop, Katie.
Absolutely, and Onoe is a player who played for AMP previously in that Philadelphia area. And you can see why she made such a great impact on the teams that she's played for, because she is relentless. She's gotten blocks, but I think I'm trying to look back through. I think that's the first time that she's actually notched a score or an assist in this game, or at least a primary assist. I can't keep track of a secondary assist by myself, but the playmaking is so deep. She's been all over the field, and yet this is the first time she's been on the scoreboard. It is a full team press from DC Shadow, and Astra is just making mistakes in those middle places.
Little clear out play on a 23 look, a nice different looking offensive starting position here. You get your best playmaker with the disc going every other.
O'Connor and Oda, Steiner, the release valve, and inside Forigawa in pursuit. It's Kramer who picks it up, and the upwind the other direction. The heads up play from Kramer, the upwind slice from Steiner. Astra, a clean hold.
A clean hold on an overthrow, but you know what happens when you have one player that's really pushing the envelope? You start to see the defense try to do something different, right? With all of this motion, all of the eyes are in the backfield, watching O'Connor just push and push. And then all of a sudden there are 2 or 3 players that are running deep unguarded. So this is a really smart throw by Steiner. It's not perfect by any means. Throws it out into space and believes that one of the 2 teammates shooting deep can get that.
Well, when I coach, I always tell my players, if you're going to punt it, if you're going to put it up a shot, put it in bounds.
Yes.
Because then somebody has a chance to go get it. And that's exactly what Steiner does. It's upwind. It's a really difficult throw at that angle, but puts it high enough that the D can't get a read on it, and to space enough that somebody can go get it, even though it wasn't to the intended target. But I think the unsung hero of that point was actually Oda, who got most of her experience from playing in Japan. She was a practice player for Flipside and has really started to make inroads in the American system. She's there, and that one intended for Gentilette. Too close from Peters, signaling there, and you can see So picking up to Hawk. A break chance for Astra late in this game. So and Hawk giving in, going. Labar, and it's out of bounds in that case. Hawk doing what I said. If you're going to put a shot, you got to put it in bounds. Francis Labar is a player who played D1 basketball and has been in the film industry and really has just played league, but is really an impact player and somebody I want to see more Ds from. Violet Way, the youngest member of Astra, on the mark, as we see a Peters and Hawk colliding a little bit upfield. It looks like a foul, no contest, which will reset the stall to 0. Tapping it live, Sauerbier slicing upfield. It's to Peters, keeping it inbounds, up on the other side. Gentilette is sure with that one. To Romero Pena on the end zone line. Murphy floats it, and Romero Pena gets the second effort over Yee. It floats long enough in the wind that DC gets another one.
Oh my goodness. You know what's really standing out in this game to me the most, Katie? It's the confidence that DC has with Gentilette going downfield one-on-one. There have been numerous occasions where they get any amount of power position, and it doesn't matter which teammate it is, they're just throwing it into space for Gentilette, believing that she's going to get it. That is incredibly powerful as a teammate, to know that someone like that can go and make a play for you. Again, similar like that to Astra, but not clearly at that full-on, we're just throwing it up to your level yet. So really impressive day for Gentilette so far.
I mean, I think that the trust is warranted because
100%.
She continues to come down with those. I think the reason she's been a stalwart of this team is because she picks the moment so well. You know she's going to go deep. She loves going deep. She continues to go deep. And yet somehow she continues to make her defenders think maybe this time she won't. And picks the moment to go, as we see Tyler Smith pulling, Dijic fielding it to Wool, to O'Connor. A poach defense, unleashing that lefty backhand intended for Pritchett. A lot of contact maybe from Smalling. Pardon, France on Pritchard.
I'm going to guess it's a foul, and maybe they're going to go to the observer to see if this was catchable or not, as it was definitely had a lot of juice on it as it was getting to them. It was pretty high and far.
Yeah, the observer, Ma, signaling coming to me and ruling it a foul. I do think France got a piece of Pritchard's foot as she tried to go up and in the jump.
Yeah, and the foul happened early enough in the play that there was a chance for Pritchard to still run this out. You never know what could happen. And what a finish here. Just confident little pivot, throwing out into space. And Brooks, happy birthday to you. You got yourself another goal.
The score is 13-21. And coming in off of that restart, Pritchard puts it up for Brooks. No defender was able to get in that space. A really well-timed restart. And Brooks making that upwind look easy, but Astra down 13-21. A minute and a half on the clock. At this point, maybe the game win is out of reach, but certainly, as we said, point diff can matter in this league, so they have to keep playing for every single point.
And momentum too, Katie, right? It's a momentum sport even between games, right? If you finish a game strong, even if you end up with a loss as a team, that can bleed into your practices, your preparation for the next game. You have things to look on film later on during the week that you can latch on to and like create good foundational parts of your team. So it's really important to just give every point, everything you can.
Smith in the middle of the field. Resets to Cunningham. Cunningham finds Mueller upfield. Pendleton. Fielded by Smith. Almost a D there. Now Cunningham, one of the younger players on this squad. It looks like a travel called on Cunningham, but ruled inbounds. Yeah, so stays in DC's possession. Coming in on stall 1. Cunningham with the disc. Immediately upfield to Mueller. Mueller marked by Steiner, but finds Smith. Oda on the mark. And a travel called. And back. Smith with the disc still. Oda forces the hammer over the top. And it is up and down. It looks like Helm maybe getting called for a foul on this one. Looks like a no contest from the hand signaling. And it seems...
Yeah, it seems
Julia Harris is
pretty clear body-to-body contact as the disc was coming straight down over their heads.
Harris. With the disc now. Tyler Smith. The run through by Lexi Roy makes them miss a little bit. As they continue to talk about it, the clock is stopped with 11 seconds. It seems that a timeout being called.
Yeah, you know what? Look, it's been a very competitive game, very high energy, incredible plays, lots and lots of highlights. Astra knows that scoring last year is a valuable part for their team. So call this timeout. Yes, the game's out of reach. Sure, they're down 8 points here, but we'd love to punch one in to finish. So let's call the timeout, get a line out here, and finish with our heads high, and get the chance to practice a fourth quarter that could be tied, right? Like, why not pretend it's tied right now? You got 15 seconds left. Let's run a play that we would use later in the season and get some good in-game reps right here, right now.
I would say in this game, DC has really managed those end of quarter situations much better than Astra has. And this is really a growth point for Astra. And so if you're going to use this, you can't get higher level reps than against the defense of DC Shadow. And I think it's important to recognize that these moments all matter because they add up at the end of the season. As we see the clock going to start again, Guzman with the disc, Murphy on the mark as O'Connor tries to get free, marked by Wong. Slices back to Guzman. Guzman unleashes a backhand intended. It looks for Steiner, up and over the top, and it's in and out of the hands of Helm. And that, my friends, is game.
Really thoughtful kind of rundown from Helm. Saw that it had a chance to float and push over the head. So close to ending the game on a score, on a prayer huck from Guzman. But end of the game, 21-13, DC Shadow taking down LA Astra. Very, very confident win. A very complete win for DC. Only a handful of points where they had a whole bunch of turnovers. But in general, boy, you could just see the depth and confidence of this DC team and the way that they attacked. After point, it'd be tough to beat them.
And Astra played a great game, but they just didn't have it. They made too many mistakes, and DC made very, very few in this game, as Maggie O'Connor had it right there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to hang your hat on, right? Lots of pieces here to learn from. A bunch of really entertaining highlights for them. And experience, right? I mean, look, really, really big time experience here playing against a team that was the runner-up in the league last year. This is great for Astra. Excited to see where they go from here. And, excited for this DC Shadow team, really, because hats off to them for a great game.
Absolutely, and we talked with coaches beforehand that they're going to take this one game at a time. Their first game, they took down Atlanta Soul 19-8. They now take down LA 21-13, but their sights are set on New York Gridlock, who is currently atop the North Conference in the PUL, and DC firmly planting itself as the number one seed in the South. There's still more to play for. Not every team plays each other, and there's a lot of road games ahead, but I'm really excited about where this league is headed and all of the players that we are going to see and highlight through this. It's really exciting for these West Coast players to get a taste of the shadows of DC, because they loom large.
They certainly do. Pleasure spending this afternoon with you all. Thank you for being here with us. For Katie Killebrew, I'm Chris Mazer. We'll see you next time.